Welcome back. Let's get you ready for hiring season with 15 tips in under 30 minutes. We're going to cover positioning and mindset to get you ready for the job hunt, online presence, essentially building your brand and networking to put your name out there, application and resume optimization, company outreach, a little bit of the job search, and of course, interview preparation, probably where many of us make it or break it. So let's get started. First tip, self-positioning and mindset. Tip number 1, evaluate your career history. I would go position by position and split your prior positions to then categorize what about that position you truly enjoyed, what fueled you, and what drained you. Where do you want to continue to put your efforts and where do you want to pull back and maybe shift in a different direction? This helps you to refocus your career, redirect your career, and really decide what you want to start, stop, and continue as you move forward. Number 2, determine what role you're a best fit for. I cannot tell you how many of us skip this step and then figure that out only after we've been in the new role for several months. So use the holidays, use this downtime, right? This time between now and New Year's to take advantage of the mental clarity you have now that you're separated from the stress of work to consider roles and explore conversations to learn more about your potential ideal role. Now, once you've done that, once you have figured out what your role is, what the role is that's going to make you happy, give you satisfaction, also challenge you and help you to thrive in your career, open new doors for you. Once you find what that ideal role is, then it's time to understand your value proposition. Now, your value proposition is a short statement, but it is not easy to come by. This short statement, when I work with clients, I typically take at least 1 or 2 brand sessions to figure out what you truly want out of your career. Then we go into a branding session, and that's where we figure out what you bring to the table that sets you apart. So if you're having a career change from one industry all the way into another, then chances are you have a lot of skills that your other candidates in the same application pools aren't going to have. Now, you have to be confident in your value proposition in order to have the hiring manager trust and be confident in the fact that while you are not from the same industry, and while you don't have the exact same experience that everyone else has, that you can pull from your toolkit to do the job. Now, if you are having a small career pivot or you're advancing in your role, then you still have a value proposition in that there is a very specific way in which you do things. So that if multiple candidates did the exact same job that you have been doing for the past year, 2, 3, or 10 years, you would be able to tell your work from someone else's work. So what is it that is valuable about your work? What is your value proposition? Number 4, create a file to help you stay positive and persistent. This is so important, and I really encourage you to start building this now. Create a file with all of your accomplishments and your awards and formal and informal recognition. This could be things like grateful emails, right? People that send you an email and they say, man, thank you so much for that meeting. I love the way you run meetings because every time you run this meeting, I feel like I get what I actually need to do my work. Those emails are golden when you're not feeling quite as confident because of the job search blues, right? The rejection, the ghosting, and all those things. Save things like reports showing the impact of your work, or maybe there is a 360 assessment that's conducted on you and you get a lot of really good feedback. All of this is going to help you maintain optimism and resilience throughout the entire job search process, which I promise you will come sooner or later. Prepare for it now because we never know when there's going to be layoffs. I mean, so many people this year were impacted by layoffs. You just don't know when it's going to hit you and when you're going to need not just your network, which we talk about all the time, but also this mental anchor in positivity, in your accomplishments, and in the work that you know you can do. All right, so all of this, evaluate your career history, determine the role that you are best fit for, understand your value proposition, and create a file to help you stay positive and persistent in the valley. All of these are part of your positioning and your mindset. There's a lot more to this, but let's keep going for now. Okay, second category, is your online presence and networking. This is essentially a part of your brand. The first thing I would do, especially if you've got a long break over the holidays, is to optimize your LinkedIn profile. This means looking through it to make sure the right skills are highlighted, the right experiences, that you're not missing any information, that you are continuing to seek endorsements and maybe even recommendations. Clear out your curated lists and reset your LinkedIn feed. So, what you're going to do in this step is basically go to your groups and go to your, follow, like who you follow, and reset some of these things so that it reflects where you want to go, not necessarily where you've been. Next, leverage alumni networks. This is a great time to connect with former classmates, university career services, get some leads and referrals. And actually, if you want to continue to leverage your network, I would go, let's see, I think I would be going back a few episodes. I think it's one in November. Let me see. Let me check here. Okay, so go back to episode 87, which is on developing your network during the holidays. Now, in this episode, what you'll find is a lot of different ways that you could take advantage of the fact that we are in the middle of the holidays to continue to build and leverage your networks, whether they're alumni networks or not. All right, up next is gathering social proof. This is where you can reach out to previous supervisors or colleagues, take just a few minutes to ask folks who can vouch for your abilities. Get letters of recommendation or LinkedIn recommendations, and of course, catch up and ask what they're doing. See what about your experience with them makes them want to continue to support you. What are your value add contributions to the organizations that you were at when they worked with you? All right, let's move on now to application and resume optimization. First step here is to update your resume. Of course, that was going to be a part of this, right? You're always going to need to keep your resume up to date and ensure that it reflects your latest experiences, your skills, your achievements. And this is partially so that you're ready to go if there is a job you want to apply for or if you're mid-career search, but also because it is so easy for us to forget and or not collect any measures for the work that we're doing. So while you're in your role, make sure to collect the measures from the projects that you have put forward, and now you'll be able to update your resume and keep documentation of all of those accomplishments and measures. So next, we have align your branding to your next role. So I always have this comment of you want to dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. And that includes your brand. So are you going into leadership for the first time? Is that your next move? Are you going into executive roles for the first time? How do you want to be known moving forward? Are you aiming for a board position? Just think, what is my next growth area? And how can I align my branding with that next growth area? How can I step into those shoes now so people can see me in those shoes now instead of wearing the shoes, AKA the brand that I'm in right now, and having people see me in this role and not in a role above it? All right, last up for application and resume optimization, let's enhance your relevant skills. This downtime, assuming that you don't really need the break, right? Because some of us, we really need the break, and that's okay. But some years are a little bit lighter. And if you have the extra time, this is a great opportunity to take courses or certifications that align with the roles you want in the future. So you find out, where are my gaps? Okay, XYZ is my gap. Perfect. Let's go find a reputable and credible course on that topic. All right, let's hop a little bit into company outreach and job search. First, research target companies. This is where you can understand a company's mission and culture and recent news. And as you're doing that, you'll get a sense of what are the cues that you're looking for in specific companies to know if they're a good fit for you or not. So if you can sit down for a couple hours or maybe even 30 minutes, but what you're doing is getting to know the companies in the industries in which you want to work and figuring out things like what is most valuable to them. How do you approach them in a way that resonates with who they see themselves as? And how can you align yourself? And well, let me back up a little bit. Are you aligned right? Because if your values and your mission doesn't quite align with what they are doing, then over time, that's going to result in just stress and tiredness and a misalignment. And eventually, it could lead to burnout if your values are not aligned with the company's values because there's an emotional friction there. So, research target companies. Next, set up job alerts. You can use the LinkedIn platform, Indeed platform. They all have job alerts. And that way you can get emails about job openings and stay, well, A, ahead of the competition in theory, but also you just have an idea of, hey, there's always job openings. Here's what I'm seeing come up. And even if you're not looking, you can just stay in the know about what postings are coming up. Now, you and I already know that ghost postings are a thing. So not every posting that is out there is going to be legitimate and a company actually looking to hire someone, but you'll still have more of a pulse than if you didn't set up any job alerts. Okay, let's start to bring it home with my favorite, interview preparation. The first step here, in your downtime, practice the common interview questions. You'd be surprised. Yes, it's like riding a bike. Yes, the skills that you have, like in everything else, will come back to you. However, if you're like me and you know another language, the longer you go without using it, the longer it takes to get it back. So prepare answers for both traditional and behavioral questions, for both situational, more in the future questions, and those behavioral in the past questions. And then, of course, your usual, what is your weakness? What is your strength? These questions will change over time, especially as you get higher and higher in your work and have more and more complex work to share. So take this time to prepare some common interview responses. Up next, develop or update your career story. Be ready to concisely. That is the key word. Every time we talk about career story, we end up with a 45-minute story that really should be condensed to about 45 seconds. So be ready to concisely explain who you are, what you offer, and what your next season holds. Now, that sounds easy, but when I tell you that it has to be in the context of your audience, so explain who you are in terms of what they need, explain what you offer in terms of the problems and challenges they want solved, and explain what your next season holds in relation to who they are looking for. So it does take a little bit of time to figure out those pieces of yourself. But then you also want to do that company research we talked about to figure out that layer for the companies. And then it takes a little bit more time to bring the two together so that your story is a bridge between your past and their future. All right, we're almost there. The next one here is prepare for virtual interviews. This is where you can take the time to skip all of the mistakes and test your equipment, test your audio, test your video, figure out your lighting. I mean, figuring out your lighting takes a lot of effort. I'm not going to lie to you, especially if you're a woman. Let's be real. Our lighting is important. So, figuring out your lighting, you're not going to do right before an interview and getting sweaty, moving equipment around and all this stuff. So, test your equipment now while you're cool, calm, collected. You can always figure out what you can get on after Christmas sales. You want to ensure that you have a nice professional background, that of course you dress appropriately, but we can always do that. We can get some January sales weekend clothing, right? We can get something over the holidays. So again, this is a good time primarily to test your equipment, ensure a professional background, and of course, yeah, you can go grab yourself an outfit. Okay, here's the thing. When you take care of the visual side of things, you would be surprised how much of an impact that has in your ability to communicate more confidently. It's like a catch-22. It's like a cycle. So many folks ask me a question, "Hey, I can't seem to get into the, confident mindset." Something as small as putting your head on the upper third of the screen. So imagine the image, right? The screen, the Zoom window. Your face should be in the upper third, and your eyes should be right on the line. If you were to make two lines splitting the screen into three different areas, your eyes should be right on that 2/3 line. And that is because if you are looking up at someone, then in theory, communication wise, it doesn't give you a power position. However, if you are in eyesight, it gives you that equal footing, and it does help you to be more confident. So how you see yourself affects how you feel about yourself. And so put yourself in a position to feel confident so that when you look in the Zoom window and you see yourself, you think, hey, now that's a professional. They look confident. Now, if you can do that, that can basically help you get into that mindset of feeling confident in the interview. So just a small tip, and it makes a world of difference. All right, so we are here at the very last one, the 15th tip for helping you get started and preparing for your career search. So this is to draft thoughtful questions. Show your interest by asking really meaningful questions for your interviews. And right now, while you're in downtime, ask yourself, what do you really want to know about your next role? What is going to give you the answers you need to decide that this is a good cultural fit and that this provides the mental stimulation and the opportunities for leadership and your forward growth? So go beyond the basic information in the job posting. And in fact, when you ask questions about the company, go beyond the information on the actual website. When you ask your questions, tell them what you already know. So that lets them know that you're not asking a basic question. You want to go deeper. And it also avoids them spending time, valuable interview time, on information you already know. So consider also what you need to know for A, future interviews. So to sell yourself in those future interviews. B, to create a logical argument in your negotiations that connects your value to their need and their goals. And C, you want to consider what you're going to need to be successful in that role moving forward. You want to use a systems approach. This is where you think and ask questions not only about the finite topics of your specific role, but also about the larger organization and how the departments interact with each other, and the larger ecosystem that is your industry and the related industries that facilitate or benefit from the work that you do. Ultimately, you want to show that you are invested and committed to the work, not just your work. So when you draft these thoughtful questions, know that this preparation that you do during your downtime is going to help you to end the interview strong. And when it comes to memory and when it comes to, how we can recall information and how we make decisions, we often remember the beginning and the end of things. So this ensures that not only do you start strong, but you more importantly end strong. All right, so that's all I have for you. We did it. 15 tips in under 30 minutes. I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you so much for spending time with me and with all of our amazing guests this year in 2024. I hope this is helpful for you moving into 2025. Have a wonderful Christmas and know that we love you. We're praying for you, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey, thanks for listening. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. If you found this episode helpful, please tap the 5-star review on the show's homepage in your podcast app. It would absolutely make my day, and it helps others discover the Uncommon Career Podcast. Now, to download your free career resources and learn how I help seasoned professionals land amazing offers in as little as 90 days, click on the link in the description or go to theuncommoncareer.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.